All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Amalie Schaefer with Systematic Excellence Consulting. You are watching the ClickUp Mastery YouTube channel, and I'm here today with my good friend, Briar Harvey. And we are going to do a series of videos comparing and contrasting ClickUp and Notion. This is not a one is better than the other. This is just showing the differences. I think it's really important to break down the differences because ultimately when you're using a project management tool, it really doesn't matter which one you use as long as you're using one, right? And you commit to using it. So we are committed to showing the differences between the two to help you make a better, more informed choice when you're deciding on a platform. So Briar, will you just do a really quick intro? Let me, tell people who you are, and then in the show description, I'll put a link to your website so people can find you, to get more information. But just do a quick intro.
Hello, y'all. I am Briar Harvey. I am the systems witch, they call me. I work primarily with neurodiverse entrepreneurs, so that's ADHD, autism, chronic depression, anxiety, any of a chronic neurological or hormonal chemical imbalance. And so I help these folks plan, right? I help them take the really big ideas and put them into a system, which for my people is very frequently in Notion. Because it is not linear, it is very easy to make it work for the way that your brain works.
Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the hierarchy. Well, what we're going to do actually is start in this home screen. And we can't share both screens at the same time. So the screen you're looking at right now is ClickUp, and that's my screen. And then we're going to switch to Briar's screen as we start talking about the differences between ClickUp and Notion. So to start here, let's just start with the home screen. So the home screen is basically your inbox, your inbox for different things that are going on. This is my test account. So right now it's not showing that anything's due because this is where I build out templates and things for videos. But if I had to-dos, right, they would all be listed here. Anything you can see, I have overdue stuff. So it's going to show you whatever I have overdue. And it has a calendar over here that you can sync with your Google Calendar or whatever. So you can see your appointments. You can also sync your tasks with your calendar, but I don't recommend doing that because it can get a little overwhelming. But you can sync this with your calendar to see your appointments to fit in when you're going to get certain things done. Then up here, down here, you have the different tasks. It also shows unscheduled. So if you have places where you're just put in some information instructions but don't have any due dates, that's where they would be. A lineup is tasks that you set to the lineup that are important for the day. And you would do that inside of the task. So if I open this task up and I click on here, it says add to lineup. It's already in my lineup, but if I want to add it to my lineup, I would just click there and click on my name and it'll add it there. So another part of this, you can see your agenda for the day, tasks, reminders, whatever you have assigned to you, any mentions. So if someone mentions you in a comment, it would be there. And then if there's comments on things, any done or delegated tasks, you can see them there. So this is just the basic look of the home screen inside of ClickUp. And this is where I live in the morning when I'm coming in, figuring out my day, what I have going on. It's this and the notification center. So the notification center, I'm just going to open this up really quick so then we can go over this in Notion as soon as I show it. So this is the notification screen. This is where you're going to see different changes. And all of these notifications are based on the settings that you have preset in the settings area of ClickUp. So Briar, why don't we go over how you have sort of how you set up kind of like the home screen in Notion. I'm just going to switch screens here really quick, and I'll let you go ahead and go over that.
Okay. So Notion does not have any predefined dashboards. You have to build your own. And you're building them out based on what you need to see. I'm actually going to show you 3 different dashboards really quickly. They're all mine, and they're all the same data, but it allows me to examine it and process it in completely different ways. So today is today. These are the top 3 things that I want to be working on today. These are projects that I specifically have sorted out that are active. These are tasks that I specifically have sorted out as active. And this is a checkbox here, which they're tasks, but they're not attached to the task database. For me, these are one-off type things, and these are longer projects, different from projects. I know it's a lot. I also
Can I ask
have,
you a question really quick about that?
yes.
Okay, so in your today, are those like, can you change the format of what that looks like? Like, could you change stuff to finish to something else?
Yep.
Can you
Yeah.
show that really quick?
So all of these are titles, right? I can change this to say whatever I want it to say.
Okay.
It's a heading, stuff to do. These are direct links to other places. You can see that
Okay.
by the little arrow.
Got it.
Notion drags and drops. So if I just want to move something, I just move something.
Okay. And you could add another section in there at the bottom if you wanted to, or whatever, right? You could
Yep,
add.
you can add another to-do list.
Okay.
You can add a block that is a call-out box. That's specifically what those are right there. You can literally control all of the design of your dashboard to make it visually something that you want to do. All of
Okay.
this stuff, the icon, the background, all of that changes. And I'm working currently in dark mode because I'm blind and I have to have dark mode.
Fair enough. So one thing that would be comparable to, so in the ClickUp home screen, you can't really move things around in that way. But what you could do is you could create a doc inside of ClickUp that would have a similar setup, because you can add images, you can add, like, where when you were adding that headline, that scroll menu to add those different things looks exactly like the one in the ClickUp docs. That's exactly what it looks like. You can embed, you can do all those different things. So if someone wanted something like this in ClickUp, they could do it in a doc, and that would be like your go-to document that you look at every day. So you could set something up similar to this in ClickUp. And then you were about to go somewhere else when I interrupted you, so I apologize for that.
So I'm
Hopefully you
gonna,
didn't forget.
nope. What I want to show you, though, one of the disadvantages that I find in Notion, the API was just released publicly to beta within the last couple of months. So it's still brand new and fresh, and the integrations aren't spectacular yet. This is my Google Calendar here.
Okay.
It's a drop-in of the page. I can't interact with it here. I can click on it and see it, but in order to edit, I have to go into Google Calendar.
Okay.
In order to add a task from Notion to my Google Calendar, which I strongly don't recommend, by the way, but if I wanted to do that, I would have to use Zapier. There is no native integration for me to be able to set up a link between my calendar or my task list and Notion. So it is very much a standalone platform in that way.
Okay. So I'm going to switch back to my screen really quick so I can show kind of what I would, if someone is like in ClickUp, but they like the way that you had that agenda, I want to show kind of how I would do that. So I'm just going to switch back to mine really quickly. So what you could do here is you can actually build out something similar, because, excuse me, you can link to different tasks in this. So you could even link to lists. So you could essentially build out, let's see. You could build out something similar. Let me see here. Oh, here we go. This is what I wanted. So if we did a list, let's do, we'll do operations and we'll just do meetings for now, just to show it. So you can embed pieces of like lists inside of here. Now it's not going to look exactly like the way that Briar has it inside of, and excuse all my overdue due dates, I haven't come in and cleaned it up, but it's not going to look exactly like it does in Notion, the way Briar has it set up, which I actually really love. But you could set something like that up inside of a doc to essentially replicate what's in there. So if we came down here, we could, and to get your items for today, you could go into each of the tasks. Let me find a good, no, they're all sort of not very good options. But anyway, let's just say it's this one. And I'm just going to grab the link to it. And then I would just come over here and you can just put the link to it and then the task is there. So you can get to it from here or check it off. And then again, you can embed lists here and it tells you exactly where it's at. So you could essentially build something similar. Obviously, the way Briar has it is better. But if you are in ClickUp and want to have something like the way Briar has it, there's definitely some flexibility to do that. So, okay, let's roll to, and did you have something else you wanted to add about what we were just talking about? Oh, hold on.
Oh, that's me.
Okay.
I do want to show really quickly what following tasks look like.
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
Showed yours. So these are very specifically all in here. These are the ones that I am following and unfollowing. I really like how well Notion gives me updates. I can get them emailed. I imagine that's probably pretty similar to ClickUp, but it's absolutely vital for me.
So that's like your notification center, like what's coming up due or what's overdue. Yeah.
Yep. And when I have a comment or somebody's interacted with something, there will be a bright red number here that I cannot ignore. Okay,
awesome. So that's great. So let's roll to hierarchy, like how you have like what's going on that left sidebar. So there are some similarities. So I'll let you go first and then I'll switch to my screen and then I'll go over the hierarchy in ClickUp. But why don't you go ahead and like walk us through that, like, projects or however, and use the terminology, because I know like switching between systems, the terminology is different. Like if you're going from Trello as well, like you can make ClickUp look like Trello, but the terminology is different. So I'll let you do that and then we'll switch to mine.
So when we're talking about hierarchy in Notion, it's basically however you want to design it.
Okay.
I call this my brain. It literally is. All of my things are here. So let's look at projects and content and a gardening dashboard, which I do not mess much with because it was a template for Marie Poulin, but it's amazing. So
I actually have a gardening. I actually did a whole video on ClickUp for personal use and did a gardening one. So I can show that in ClickUp.
So that's awesome. So gardening here, and this was, again, not my setup. These are links to where you want to go. And as you scroll through, these are specific activities in the database. You can see them sorted out by month. You can see additional notes here. And these are one-off tasks, again, not specifically attached to a project database. These are cards. They're all different databases with different setups. So,
but they're all enclosed into one, what would you call it, database?
No, They're all
Oh,
different databases
okay.
on a landing page.
On a
One
landing page.
thing that I would say about Notion that is difficult, so let's go to my projects here. This is timeline view. These are my current active projects, so you can see them in the timeline. There's no way to check this off as done. So
Okay.
that's why Notion has the one-off tasks with the checkbox, because that can be checked. But a
Mhm.
project only moves through phases, right? It
Mhm.
moves through stages, perhaps. This is when I'm going to work on it. It can be tagged, but ultimately it is either, in my system, active, inactive, or archived. There is no way to actually physically, unless you have a box, which you add to the dashboard. Let's see, this is calendar view. Let's look at,
And
oh
these are the
gosh,
different views because we can
these
go
are
over
all
that too.
different views.
Mhm.
I can mark something off as done here,
Mhm.
but it doesn't change the entry at all. It's just a
Okay.
tick box.
Gotcha.
So it remains as a static entry in the database. One thing I
Okay.
like about Notion, though, is that everything still exists. Even if you delete, you have to manually go in and really physically delete each
Mhm.
item in your trash can. So basically, everything exists forever, and you
Mhm.
have access to go back to all of it if you've accidentally thrown something
Yeah.
away or trashed it. But
And it's
in
similar in ClickUp. You can archive things and you can, if you delete them,
mhm.
you can get them back. I think there's a time limit. Now, how would you mark one of those line items like done, off, like over, move it out of the way so you're not seeing it anymore? Like you would have to delete it? Oh wait, I can't hear you again.
In my task database, I have phases,
Okay.
stages, right?
Okay.
Status.
Mhm.
So it moves from an idea to published or abandoned, but it's not ever out of the way. If I change this, it'll move it out of the sort, right? It's no longer there anymore. But
Right. Okay.
even just checking the box, I still have to change the status in order to move it down in order.
Okay. Okay. So can you go back to one of your projects and then so if you have a project and then you have like subtasks part of the project to get it done, can you show us like that sort of layout? So then I can compare that to ClickUp.
Yep, let me take a look at one that's mostly finished. Okay, so this was a workshop I ran a couple of months ago. I still have to put up the final landing page. But these are specifically people that I contacted for affiliates. This is a link to their individual contact card in my contact database.
Okay.
And these are all additional pages. So I can click here and go through what I was writing about. I can click here and see the notes that I read for during the slideshow. And again, inside a note or a page, if it's text-based, it's virtually like a doc, although
Yeah.
Notion does have this wonderful drag and drop stuff that's
Mhm.
amazing.
And then for it, like if there were tasks to do to complete it, that would be in that the checklist area kind of?
Right. I can add them here.
Okay.
I can I can make a hierarchy,
Gotcha.
right?
You can nest them, right?
I can
Okay.
nest them.
Yeah.
but they're tasks, they're checkboxes, they're not attached to a project specifically in a way that I can interact with it from another database.
Gotcha.
If I want to interact with it in another database or in another place, there are a couple of things I can do. I can copy this and I can duplicate it in a way that allows me to clone it. It's not doing it properly here, but it allows me to change it the same way in both places.
Okay.
But it's still a duplication.
Okay.
If I want to interact with the database here, it's got to be in an actual database.
Right. I'll have to link to it, like a relationship kind of.
It is
right?
absolutely relational. Yes.
Okay. Let me switch over to ClickUp really quick, and then if you have questions based on what we went over, in case I forget everything we went over, just chime in. So I'm going to just switch over here really quick. So the way that in ClickUp, oh, sorry, let me go to spaces. So ClickUp has your workspace, which is everything. Then it's spaces, then it's folders, lists, and tasks. So if you have a project, so let's say it's the client project, and I click on the folder, I'm going to see each of the phases inside of here. And you can look at it however you want, right? And there's even a timeline. You can do a timeline view, excuse me, similar to what Briar was showing. So if we want to, I can zoom out so we could see, you can do a timeline view. I prefer to look at things in a list view. That's just me. So you could have where you would have your phase one, maybe strategy, production, execution, and then have your task list in progress, ready for review, on hold, or complete. And then the same thing over here. Now, what you can do is you can have relationships between two tasks. So we have this task in production, this test task over here. I'm going to just edit the name to make it easier to find. And then you can do a relationship. So if this item 1 is actually related to that other task, right, you can create dependencies. So if I wanted a dependency, meaning this is blocking another task, then I can click on the task that it's blocking and it'll show that. And so then the person that is maybe assigned, if it's a different person to that other task, they'll get a notification that says like, you're still waiting on something else. We can also do, so if I wanted to just relate it to a task, then we would have a task relation here. And then if I go down to the task over here, it'll also be, the task will be linked here to make it easy to go back and forth between the two. And you can set up automations where, like, if you put something in one task, it can create an automation to, put the information in the other, or apply a template or something like that. There are options for that. So whereas Briar was showing the project, and you have to decide whether you want the project to be at a folder level or at a list level. Now, one project might be just a list, and that's totally fine. It depends. The way that I really think about how to break it down is how many people are going to be working on it, how many tasks are involved or processes. If there's more than one process involved, I recommend having a folder and then breaking those processes down by a list, because it can get a little overwhelming if you have multiple processes running inside of one list. So for example, for content production, we break it down into like blog post production, podcast production, social media production. They're all content management or content production, but they each have their own process that require multiple steps. So we keep those separate. And then inside, you have options of subtasks and checklist items. So it's slightly different than Notion, but you can do the same things where you can have checklist items. And the way that I really decide whether something's a checklist item or a subtask is is it in like its own step? Is it its own piece of the process? So like design or copywriting is its own piece of the process, almost a sub process of the
But
main
there are
process.
multiple steps. That's how,
Right.
and for me, that's the difference too. The tick box is a one-off thing that is
Yes.
a
Like a
single.
reminder,
Right.
right?
It's the smallest form of the task. But my task database includes things that are multi-step. Yes.
Yeah. So like design is a sub process of the main process, right? It's its own piece of it. And then within the design, it's going to have a checklist item that's like, make sure that you name the files properly, make sure you close out the task when you're done or put it to ready for review. Like those items are in there for the design task. And then um, any communication, any comments, that would be over here. And then what we've been using the description area for is embedding the Google Doc, the SOP. So you can put, specific instructions like one-off tasks, we'll type the instructions in the description area. But when it's an ongoing process, we embed the Google Doc with the SOP in there to make it easier to find, versus constantly putting the same all the same directions. And if you update the SOP in the Google Doc and it's not embedded, then you have to go back to all the tasks and update the description. So that's why we embed the Google Doc in there to see it.
SOPs are built out natively in Notion, and you just have to link to that page.
Perfect. Yeah.
So.
And you can build SOPs in docs in ClickUp and then embed those as well. So I did a whole video last week on docs and how I do the embed. So if you were going to do SOPs, you can embed them here. So where you have like your SOP list, then you can hyperlink to them. And then maybe you have your marketing, hyperlink to the sub processes of the, you can have them here and then here's your SOP, and then here's some additional pieces like any templates that are associated with this process or whatever. So, and then you can embed this whole thing in there. So if I was going to embed this, I would just copy the URL. I'm going to go back over to where I was in Spaces. And let's just say, let's go into this blog post and I want to embed it. I'm just going to do the slash mark. See how this menu is like almost exactly the same as Notion's. It looks so similar to it. And then I click on embed. I would just put the link there. And now it will embed the, and you don't have to embed it. You can just put the link, but I prefer to embed it so it's actively right inside of here. And then you can switch to whichever, if you want to see all the marketing, you can switch to that as well and see those from there.
That's nifty. I like that.
Yeah, it's really nice. Instead of having to and if you want to open it, you can just click on it to expand it. Like if you don't want to see it in the smaller window. And now I was trying to think of what else we went over to show the comparison. Can you go over assigning like team members and things like that in Notion, and then we'll do it inside of here. So like in ClickUp, if I have a team, I can assign tasks, subtasks to multiple people, to one person, and I can do, let's start with the assignment, the assigning of things.
Okay. In a database, there is the ability to set up a field for that. So that's currently working in mine, and I just...
Hold on. Let's talk guests and members. So how is it when you share Notion with people? Sorry, I feel like I didn't mean to skip that step. Let's talk about that first and then.
So sharing in Notion is sort of complex. I can add members to the entire platform.
Okay. And do you pay for them?
Yes, you pay additional fees for the members. It's $10 per person per team.
Okay.
For a team member to have access to Notion, they get the public databases, but they also have the ability to create their own private databases, right?
Okay.
So if I were to invite a teammate into my personal Notion, they'd be able to build out as much as they wanted within their own personal Notion that I would never have access to.
Okay.
Rather than doing that, what I prefer to do in terms of working with contractors, or even when I share this, because I use Notion for clients as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is share it at the page level.
Okay.
And here, Sarah is my podcast co-host. Heather is my executive assistant. This allows me to, it's an integration from Gmail to Notion. So they can see everything that I add in this database.
Mm-hmm.
When they log into Notion, they will see this database, but they won't see anything else if I haven't granted access to them.
Okay, so how low of a level can you go with giving someone access?
All the way down. If I wanted to remove access here, I absolutely
Okay.
can, right?
Okay,
I
yeah.
can just remove from this specific page, and you see it doesn't, this page will no longer inherit share settings from the parent page. So I can fine-tune access all the way down.
Okay. Can I just switch over, because I do want to show
Mhm.
ClickUp that really quick. So in ClickUp, it's actually similar, because you can give access to, if it's a guest, you can, and actually it's not just guests, but when you add a guest, you add them as, so there's members and guests. And guests, you give access to specific things, whether it's a task or a list, you give them access to specific things. And you can also, so here, like I could add people here. And so this is showing me who has access to this. So me, the owner, and then I added myself from another email address as a guest, and I can change what kind of access I have. This is a free account, so you don't have as much flexibility as you would have with business or unlimited. But you can give access at the list level, even at the task level. So let's say I gave someone access to this list, but I didn't want them to see one specific task. I could make that task private, and then they can't see it. And then I could just add specific people to this particular task. But now they would be able, if I added them to the list, they'd see everything but this locked task. So it's similar with members. Now with members, when you give them access, they essentially have access to everything. And then you would have to like just remove them from certain things if you don't want them to have access to it. Or you could lock a whole space. So like if home, if I don't want anyone to be in the home space, then I can just, I can make it private, and then I could add specific people if I wanted to. So now this is private. So now no one would be able to see that or get access to it. Members you pay for, and with members, every time you add someone, you get an additional 5 guests based on that. And so when you have someone in your business regularly, giving them the member access that you actually pay for is, I think, better, because they have access to more things. They can create tasks, they can do things like that. Now, when they create a ClickUp account, they have their own free account that they, unless they pay for it, that they can do their own thing in, but then they just get access to your workspace. So here I have a couple of different workspaces that I can click to. Now, if someone shared a workspace with me, I would be able to access it from here. If I wanted someone to have access to my workspace, like I'm paying for someone, I would add them to a specific workspace, and then they would have access to all of these things except what I remove them from. Now, guests, you have to add, if you have a guest, let's say you have a contractor working with you and you add them to one list. Let's say you add them to meetings, but then you realize, oh, they're going to actually work on this client project. You would have to add them to the folder that would give them access to all these lists, or a specific list with whatever they want access to. So you would have to add them each time that they needed to be included in something. If it's a guest, if it's a member, they'll have access to everything unless you remove it. Okay, so let's go back to over here. And let's talk about like assigning stuff, like with your team.
Okay, so let's take a look here. I've got some delegated stuff here already.
Okay.
All right, so.
And just tell me again what you just clicked on. That's a page, right? Or a sub page?
That's a page.
A page, okay.
And you can open it as a page up here.
Gotcha, okay.
So if I was assigning someone to it, I could do that here. I can also do that on the individual level. So if I wanted to,
Oh.
There we go. So if I wanted to give this task to someone specific, I just add them.
Okay, cool. And then they'll get a notification about it?
And they'll get a notification. I forgot to tell Heather. I'm going to have to apologize to her later.
So when they get a notification, that will be in what you showed your notification center, but it'll be in theirs. Okay. And then if they click it done, like they check it off, will you get a notification that it was completed?
That's a good question. Yes, because I'm following the page and I'll get notifications of the changes to the page.
Okay. But you could turn that off if you wanted to, right?
Correct.
Like you could, okay. It's similar in ClickUp. If you're a watcher on a task, then you will get the notifications. And it depends on what you set up in the notification center. If you turn off like certain things, like I don't want to be notified of status updates, then you can remove that and then you won't get notified. Okay, so that's assigning. What is there other things for assigning? Like, could you assign a whole page to someone, or does it have to be like the checklist items?
So in a database, I can obviously assign it through the currently working and select that person.
Okay.
I can tag them elsewhere. And any place I tag someone, they're going to get an interaction with it.
Okay, and a notification.
And a notification.
Okay. So I'm just going to switch back to my screen really quick. Okay, so for assigning, and how we generally handle it is if, for example, let's say I'm going to go back to the blog post production. So let's say we have one person that manages the overall process, the operations person, right? I'm going to put that as me. And then inside the task, this one doesn't have let me do it over here. So this is assigned to me. And then for the subtasks, there's different people that do these. So I would assign it to Amalie. I'm going to assign this one to Amalie. Maybe I'll do this one and I'll do this one. So we can do that, but I can also assign it to more than one person. And that the other nice thing is you can assign checklist items as well. So if you have two people working on the main task, but you want to assign specific checklist items, you can also do that as well. And the way that we generally manage assigning is the main task of this is specifically for like ongoing operations, like something that is recurring. The main task is the person that's sort of overseeing everything. And then the subtasks are the pieces of the process that are getting done. They get assigned to whoever is working on them. And then the due date of the main task is when that actual project is to be completed, published, or whatever the end goal is of this process. And then the due dates of the subtasks are going to be when those pieces, those milestones to get us to the end goal. And then you could break out each of these into a single task. You know, the copy could be a task, but because it's an ongoing operation and we have multiple blog posts going on at one time, we keep it within a task. Now, for a client project, it might be different. For example, in phase one, each of these items might be their own task versus having like creating a whole nother hierarchy of a task with subtasks, right? These might be all the different items that need to be done, and then they get moved into in progress. So you have some flexibility on how you can organize those things in there. And then again, you can assign multiple people. And then, so let's go over like due dates in Notion. And like how you would assign due dates to, like, if let's say you have like one main project that's due in 6 months, but then you have multiple pieces to it, and each of those are going to be due at a different time prior to the end date of 6 months from now.
So in Notion, I can add multiple date fields.
Okay.
For example, here I have start date, and this is when this project ran. The due date can be any time I want to assess it. And remember, this is for projects specifically.
Right.
So each then individual task or card can have its own due date. If I am linking to tasks, those all get their own due dates.
Okay, can you show us, can you show the task due dates, like how that would look?
So it's almost the same. It's the same database. Let me see if I can pull one up. I don't have one with like a date in here because I don't really operate around due dates, if I'm being very honest.
Okay,
here.
that's fair. That's fair.
So but if I were to look at a task, I can now all my tasks and in my content database as well. So there's a due date, there's a recording date, there's a publication date.
I kind of like that, and that'll show up on your calendar. Will they show up on your whole calendar?
Right. So I have the ability to sort out by different dates if I want to. This is my content calendar is set up by publication date, but I can also shift to recording date if I want to see what all of those were. I can shift to see no due dates. But I can change all of those fields on the same calendar, or I can create another view that will allow me to specifically show what I'm looking for there.
Okay, cool. Okay. And then I do, let me just show this really quick. So similar to Notion, how you had like the start and end date. So for, let's say the client project, you want to just do a task that says, project, I don't know, in progress or something or whatever. And so like maybe this is the overall task to let you know when it's going. So let's say the start date, you can do a start and end date, and then you could look at the calendar view, and that's not the calendar view. This is a calendar view. Oh, why didn't it? Oh, I think I need to. Oh, it's not assigned. That's why. Hold on a second. Oops. Okay, so then I can see the project in progress. You could give each of your clients like a task that's a start and end date to track your like what's going on, how long is this project going to last, and then inside of there, each of the tasks will get due dates where you would be able to put a specific due date, and then as long as they're assigned, then you can see it in the calendar. You can also, in the calendar view, you can show ones that are not scheduled, or you can see overdue. But here you can see, like, you can start to see the calendar view. You can also add tasks within the calendar view. And then for subtasks, you can add due dates for those. And if you move inside of a main task, something I like is that when, let's say, let me go back to this blog one, and if I give a due date, let's say this one is due today, but then I'm going to give this one a due date of today. And then let's say that I move this to Monday, it's going to pop up. It's going to pop up a reminder. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's going to pop up a reminder that asks me if I want to move the
other dates.
Yeah, and so then I don't know why it's doing that, but anyway. I don't know why. Let me refresh my screen. Sorry. Anyway, it'll tell me like, hey, because you changed this, do you want, so if I move this to Monday, it's going to pop up, do you want to change the subtext? And I can change it. And so then it's going to change it to Monday based on the difference between the dates that I had originally set, which is, I think it's a really great reminder.
That's cool.
So, all right. So we did due dates.
We're at 45.
We are. So what I want to do, Briar, I really appreciate you being here. And I actually would like to do next week, if we could do another session, and maybe go into, I mean, obviously there's a lot more differences that we can touch on. So I'd like to do a little bit more. If anyone that is watching now or watches the replay and you have questions or things that you would like to see the difference between
specific requests, we'll take them.
Let us know, and we can cover those next week. But thank you so much for being here. Again, I am Amalie Schaefer with Systematic Excellence Consulting. This is Briar Harvey, and we'll be back next week, 11 a.m. Eastern on Thursday, and we will touch on some more, let me just remove this, touch on some more items and differences between ClickUp and Notion. So thank you so much for being here. And if you want to get in touch with Briar Harvey, then her information will be in the description. I'll also put the link to book a call with me in the description as well. And thank you so much for watching. All right, bye.